Good morning, welcome, good evening, welcome to the show. This is the sixth episode of Three Men on the Record, and we were just trying to see who would blink first. So welcome in. Um, and how are you all doing?
Hi.
I don't see anyone in the room.
Nobody's on yet. Yeah.
So welcome in, and we have this is our new episode, and we're gonna do a little different this week. Hey, Stacy, welcome in. We're gonna be we're kind of taking a little break from introducing some new 500 albums. We will go over some of them today, but we also have Jake, who's going to be going over the top 5 Yacht Rock records, and then we're all going to discuss the best, well, not the best, the essential, some of the essential live albums. And while we were looking through these, I was amazed how many great live albums there are, and to choose any over others is impossible. So today is just going to be a small little bite of live albums that we think are essential, and I'm sure you guys can come up with like 100 more that deserve to be recognized as an essential. So this week, this is the point of the show where we talk about new releases and recent acquisitions. And so what do we got, guys? I know there's a big announcement with Sony Music. God, you can tell us what's going on with that.
Yeah, I'm going to take credit. Wasn't it just like 2 episodes ago I was complaining about Sony Universal not getting on board with the whole audiophile reissue deal?
I feel like we just talked about that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Rhino, Rhino Reserve. Yeah, Sean was talking about Rhino and Rhino Reserve, the Hi-Fi series. The 75th Atlantic, that was a Rhino thing, that they were just killing it. And so this week, Sony Universal announced 4 titles are going to, they're calling it their vinyl file series. And I don't know if I should have probably taken a note, but it's
Nat King Cole Christmas.
It's
$39.99.
Yeah, they're $40, so they're matching the price of the Rhino Hi-Fi. It's Velvet Underground and Nico is one of the records. There's oh my god, I'm losing my mind. Nat King Cole Christmas record.
Bob Marley Exodus.
Yeah, Exodus, that should be a good one. And there's a band record. Which band record? It's the band.
I can't remember which one it was. Was it the Waltz? I can't remember.
Music from Big Pink, the Brown album.
No, but that's exciting because they're kind of jumping the boat, jumping on board with the success. I think they're kind of shocked seeing Rhino doing so well with these issues of represses on high quality wax and audiophile, and they're like, you know what, we're missing something, and we need to do that. I don't love their first 4 as like in your face like selections, but it's good that they're going to do that.
Yeah, I think the Velvet Underground is the really nice one, and then the so it's Northern Lights is the band album.
Gonzo has a fan club, and Thomas Bumgarner is the president and defends him to no end, which is fine. But I also want to say thank you to Thomas, because one of my new arrivals was eating a peach that I got from him, and Bridges Robin Trower record that Gonzo didn't get his hand on.
Burt Reynolds wannabe laugh.
And I know that Scott picked up 2. I know he brought up a Christmas gift, so I'm not discussing that one. And then he got the meatloaf for his office soon to be, which is a picture disc made into a record. And I've got a whole bunch of picture discs going his way. So he's going to be doing a lot more great Christmas giving. So follow our friend Thomas Bum over there on the Whatnot. And his show is on Sunday. So I want to give him a shout out because he's been a huge supporter of ours. And I just want to thank him for that. And make sure you guys follow his shows and some great gift giving ideas from him.
Awesome.
All right. So what else you guys get this week? Anything exciting?
Well, it was a little slow week, but I did finally pull the trigger on this Pete Yorn album, Music for the Morning After. I've had it on CD. It's a really good record. I haven't even opened it yet, but I'll open and clean it and listen to it. Hope
Well
it's a
done,
good.
Scott.
Hope it's a good press. So
Well done. You're going to enjoy it. I'm going to come out on a limb and say it right now. As much as it pains me to say it, that record is better than the Rentals' Return of the Rentals.
Yay!
surely not, Jake. Surely not.
Revelation. Ding, 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 ding.
Look, one guy on the record saying it. It's better. Yeah.
Yeah, wait.
Just
I
one
think we, Jake. I think we might see that record again down the road.
Ooh.
I think it is. I think Music for the Morning After is an essential album. Great record. It's his first. It's his best.
Yep.
And you will enjoy it.
All right. So I got a few things. Most of the stuff I got this week is from my store. And one of them would be Kid Rock 2003, self-titled. 81, Ozzy Osbourne, Diary of the Madman on Jet. I picked up this cool Rolling Stones boot with some great titles on it. And then this one, I'm starting to become a fan of weird and creepy covers. And I think I might even start a Discord thing where you can send pictures of some weird and odd records, and maybe we'll include them in the shows if they're unique and interesting. Because there's always some weird covers, and I think.
What are you talking about? Starting to become Sean? You are the house of the misplaced albums.
Yeah, like look at that thing. Well, you kind of made fun of me with that John Wayne record last week, and someone asked for it within 10 minutes of my show starting.
I mean, there's a buyer
I
for every
sell those
record.
every time I get them. Every time.
I've got some polka music we could really headbang to.
I send Gonzo my polka music.
I got some good polka. You want to hear some phenomenal polka? Talk to Rush Records. We'll jam out to some Weird Al Yankovic all day long. Good polka player.
The Midnight record. What else? Anything else you guys got? That's pretty much all I got this.
Yeah. So I'm kind of right there with Scott. Not a whole heck of a lot. Got some stuff for the store, but nothing. Let's see.
I did get some of these because I'm the guy about the Sharks. But that's pretty much all I got. It was very quiet for me personally, for my own personal collection.
Yeah, I did get a Rhino press of Bob Weir's Ace.
Nice.
And it sounds great.
The Midnight is synth pop.
On red wax.
Nice. All right. So not a lot for us guys. I want to talk about the Wings. Through the years, there have been multiple things that box sets or compilations, and Wings has come out with another one. And is that necessary? I don't think it is. I'm sorry, Paul. I love you, Paul, but how many more? I mean, Wingspan was good enough for me. Although I probably
Is Paul McCartney like the primary rival to Fleetwood Mac as far as pumping out as much as they can? I mean, it's not the groups; it's the record companies doing it.
But he owns all his music, and so it's really him.
He owns a lot.
Yeah, he owns so much music. He has a whole catalog. He owns Grease. He owns so many.
Yeah,
he's become this huge collector of music because usually goes into a private equity group, buys music rights now. So
I think
they control it. They control how much comes out all the time too.
I think a lot of it too is, the 800-pound gorilla, right? There's only so much time, right? As sad as we hate to talk about it, there's a strong possibility that within the next decade, we are going to lose a lot of our heroes. And I think, with a lot of these re-releases, the Beatles are re-releasing it, obviously a ton of stuff just recently with the anthology and adding a fourth
I read my
anthology.
anthology.
I'm pumped. And I'm still haven't decided if I'm going to get, all four of them new. I've got 3 originals, but I don't have the fourth, and I might just do the fourth separate. But I think I think about this quite a bit. And I think, if I were in a position like Sir Paul and a lot of these other greats, not that they need to, but I think a lot of it is, a legacy, being left behind. And I think a lot of it is working on that legacy and ensuring that the best quality stuff, is out there for the masses, because technology always improves. It doesn't mean that, something recorded 50 years ago is going to be subpar to something that, has been remastered to today, because as Scott and I have discussed, Robin Trower's 50th anniversary, the remaster of Bridge of Sighs, I was heavily disappointed in the remaster. The original blew it out of the water. But I think that's just my take on it. I think a lot of it is getting it right.
With that one,
legacy.
Did he have control over that? And it was the record label that did that. See, that's where you kind of got to think about it. Who prompted it? Who was in control of it? Because I think with Paul, he's in control and it's coming out the way he wants it.
Sure.
And is that with some of these other ones, the record label's just rushing them out?
I would have to imagine that in Robin Trower's situation, mind you, it was a trio, right? And, James Dewar, he is, he's gone. I would imagine he is probably heavily involved in a lot of that. I would imagine so.
I think it's probably all over the spectrum about.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Some groups that really care about that. There's some groups that they don't even really care what their vinyl press sounds like. So, I mean, we approach music from a certain perspective that I don't think even artists sometimes are. There are some hardcore artists that want their stuff, triple A cut and pressed at the best facilities, mastered by the greatest. And then there's other groups that they obviously, it's not a priority for them. But I don't have a problem with the Wings thing. I don't have a problem with the whatever Taylor Swift does with all. In the end, if it's a product that people will decide whether they want it or not.
Exactly.
Nobody's making you spend your money or anything. So I think the market self-adjusts. If they overdo it, you'll see those things at discount sellers for $5.
Yeah, all the McCartney 3s you can handle.
Yes, as we've seen.
I think my only complaint with the Beatles is when they come out with that mono box set, they always keep it limited, and the collectors buy 3, keep 1, and sell the other 2.
And they marked it up.
I understand why they do it, but I missed the boat on the mono box set, so I'm a little angry.
I'm ticked off too, because I was right there with you. We both, I think, around the same time could have gone in and done it. And it was that scratch your head, because I've got the collection. I have the MoFis, and they sound great.
But they don't make enough of those, and the collectors buy them all up, and then they double the price.
Yeah, true.
So that's my only complaint. All the other stuff the Beatles release,
yeah,
it's fine. But that mono box set, it's just, they make it so impossible to get your hands on it.
Scott and I saw one. I don't know if he saw it, but I thought you were with me when I went over there. But at the convention, there was one vendor that had it, and they were asking $1,200, and I was like, "Gosh, I could have gone and talked to Johnny and Retta and got it for $9."
Yeah,
Well, at one time, I think they had it for $8.
Yeah, they ran it a little bit cheaper the other day, but.
Because originally online, I think when they first came out, they were like $500, right?
Yeah, it was like 5. Yeah. Well, you also got to keep, some people are, because they're not being paid right now, they're making decisions on that too, and just doing what they need to do.
Absolutely.
So also, guys, and I'm going to do a little plea on, please donate to local food banks, please. Don't let kids go hungry over the holidays. With what's going on in the political world right now, and I don't want to talk about that, but it's about the children. Get them food. We don't want people going hungry at night. So please donate to your local food bank.
Amen to that,
Thank-
brother.
Peter Ewan.
Well, I was just making sure I was mirrored right, so I am
I
right.
didn't even look.
You were right.
I didn't even look this week. But Stacy would have yelled at us. So
Stacey keeps
we're good. We're
at some
good.
point.
Okay.
All right. So now we are. That's pretty much all the new arrivals and any real news. I didn't really do a lot of research in local music news right now, because everything I hear is always about birthdays. And then if you do a show that's out each week and you do birthdays, it's kind of outdated there. Jeremy Knight, how you doing? All right. So this is we're gonna recap the 500 we've done so far, so if you look on the screen there, we got. The first one is AC. It's an alphabetical order. That's even easier. AC and DC, Highway to Hell. We had Aerosmith, Pump, Beatles, Revolver, Beatles, Sgt. Pepper.
How about that? Revolver over Sergeant Pepper first. I like that.
Just alphabetized. That's why. Billy
I
Joel,
like
A Stranger, and Billy Squire, Don't Say No. Only first because of the alphabetical order.
There you go.
Okay, we got Black Crows, Shake Your Moneymaker, Black Sabbath, Paranoid, Bonnie Raitt, Nick of Time, Springsteen, Born in the USA, Bush, 16 Stone, and Counting Crows, August and Everything.
And caboosing is the Gonzo Shinoinigans. We've got Crowded House, self-titled. One of my personal faves, the Cult Sonic Temple, Dave Brubeck's Timeout, Dave Matthews Band, Crash, David Bowie, Ziggy Stardust, and the Leopard of Death, Hysteria.
All right. One of my favorites, Dire Straits, Brother in Arms, Elton John, Tumbleweed, Foreigner 4, Garth Brooks, No Fences, Gary Wright, Jake's Dreamweaver, and if you have any extra Gary Wrights hanging around, please send them to Gonzo. And also Genesis, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Could you do me a favor? Could you say Dire Straits' Brother in Arms one more time?
Dire Straits, Brother in Arms.
All right,
Can't get enough of it.
then we had the Goo Goo Dolls, Dizzy Up the Girl, Guns N' Roses, Appetite for Destruction, Heart, self-titled, Hooters, Nervous Night, Huey Lewis and the News, Sports, and the beautiful Jeff Buckley record, Grace.
Such a great record.
All right.
One of Sean's personal faves, Jimmy Buffett, Changes in Latitudes, Changes in Attitudes. You've got John Mellencamp, Scarecrow, Kings of Leon, Only by the Night. Great album. If you've never heard it, get it. You've got Korn, self-titled, Lana Del Rey, and that is Norman Rockwell and Led Zeppelin 2.
All right, where are we now? And then we have Led Zeppelin 4, and one of my personal favorites, Lord Huron. Then we have Lord Pure Heroin, Madonna self-titled, Nick Drake Pink Moon, which I don't own yet, and Oasis, What's the Story, Morning Glory, which I will never own.
Yeah.
And then we go Paul Simon, Graceland, Pearl Jam versus Peter Gabriel, So, Phil Collins, No Jacket Required, Pink Floyd, Wish You Were Here, REM, Out of Time.
I don't know about y'all, but just going back and doing just a quick review of what we've reviewed over the last 6 episodes, man, I'm pumped with what we've shouted out already, right? And what a way to start it off. Robin Trower, Bridge of Sighs, one of Scott Knight's personal faves, as he has said, probably one of the best, if not the best album of all time. Rolling Stones, Sticky Fingers. Rush, Hemispheres, Soundgarden, Super Unknown, Steely Dan, Asia, and all 3 of our personal faves, especially when Scott and I see it in a store, we feel compelled to buy it. No lie, that is truth. Steve Winwood's 1986 gem, Back in the High Life.
Angela. All right. So now we have Supertramp, Breakfast in America, Taylor Swift's Taylor Swift Reputation, and Thin Lizzy Jailbreak, which I need to get in my
Weave
collection.
that under the rug.
Third Eye Blind, self-titled. Tom Petty, Full Moon Fever, and the great Tracy Chapman, self-titled.
That you bought for how much?
$4 from you.
And to bring us up to date, which I think total this is 72. U2, the Joshua Tree, the Wallflowers, Bringing Down the Horse, Warren Zevon, Excitable Boy, The Who, Who's Next, and ZZ Top Eliminator. So I know you guys have been asking questions. I'm going to post a link into the chat too for the Google Drive document that we do keep this updated so you can see it. But we thought since we're changing it up tonight, it would be when we do these change ups, we'll do these recaps. So next time we do either live or compilations or whatever, we'll recap from this point forward. So allow people to kind of catch up.
All right.
All right, Sean.
All right. So the next part now is, again, we were talking about that we're doing live albums this week.
We are.
It's amazing how many are out there, and again, how many are really, really good. I was saying it was almost easier to probably pick out the worst live albums than it is to pick out the best live albums. But we want the positive. We're gonna bring out the best albums, and so each one of us have 4. And I'm kind of excited about mine. I don't know where they are, but who wants to go first? Jake?
I can. Yeah, I can start it off. Let's do a little camera switch here. We're going to start this off, y'all, with a little Jimi Hendrix Plays Monterey. This particular album that I have came out in 1986. Obviously, he didn't play Monterey in 1986. We lost him by about 16, 17 years by that time. But of course, we all know the Monterey Pop Festival, one of the huge pop festivals of 1967, the infamous pop festival where he lit his guitar on fire. Produced by Chas Chandler. This sold over 500,000 copies, so it was gold in the U.S. It sold over 1 million copies worldwide. And it did have a top 40 hit with Hey Joe, which obviously we know it was released as a single prior to that, but it did chart from this. The album did reach number 44 on the Billboard 200 chart. And, before listening to the album, I knew of Jimi Hendrix from watching the video footage itself, just his whole performance. And I think all of us, we all know Jimi Hendrix. We're all familiar with the Monterey Pop Festival. But I can tell you that performance alone brought an electricity that I think, people had never seen. And I think that's what was great about Jimmy is that when he kind of, burst out in the London scene in the late 60s, before he was even, known, he was an unknown. All the big bands, England bands, all flocked to see him, and they were all just blown away by, his presence and the way he played. The guy just, changed the way that guitar music was played pretty much from that point forward on. It covers tracks that came off of their debut album, which was Are You Experienced? For those of you who don't know. And then, of course, they've got live renditions that really kind of put the emphasis on his, guitar playing skills, engaging with the audience, obviously, and just manipulating the sound, with his amps and all that fun stuff. It did receive high reviews. It didn't receive any major awards, surprisingly enough, but, this concert alone is really what sealed his legacy, if you want my honest opinion, and pretty much started a cultural movement for any lead guitar player from that point onward. So this is kind of my top album to start off. I guess the 15 that I think we're doing total this year. Is it 4 or 12? Sorry, we're doing 4.
It's 12 tonight.
So start off with Jimmy, plays Monterey. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
All right, Scott.
Okay. Well, I'm going to lead off with I think for me, as I was coming of age and getting into music, this is probably the first live album that really blew me away and caught my attention. And it's actually the first time I've ever heard of this band. And I've been a fan ever since. And that album is Cheap Trick at Budokan. So, how I came to this album was well, let me back up just a little bit and explain. At this time, Cheap Trick was not doing so hot in the US. They were releasing albums, but they weren't really taking off. They didn't have a hit. They didn't even have a huge following outside of the Midwest. But in Japan, they were stars. They were, I hate to say the Beatles because it's probably overselling a little bit, but they had that kind of reaction from the Japanese audience. So they was always very popular in Japan. So there were Cheap Trick albums out. I don't know if it was 3 or 4 already major label studio albums. I didn't even know who they were. And a friend of mine said, "Hey, come down. I got a buddy at the radio station, and he let me borrow this album. They got it in. He says it's really good." And at this time, they weren't playing it on my local rock radio station. So I went down there and we listened to it, and I was just amazed. And it is really obviously other people's reaction to hearing this. And I can't really make up my mind. And I don't know if it's all that important, but the crowd noise in it feels like maybe it's pumped up just a little bit, but it's part of the production. It sounds good. And when I've seen the film, those fans, they were into it. They were definitely into it. But when they recorded the album, they definitely wanted to make sure that was coming through, that excitement. And it starts off with, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, just rocking. I think they say, "Welcome, epic recording artist Cheap Trick," and the crowd explodes and goes into "Hello There." It catches your attention right away, and it's just tremendous. And it what really got them going here is they released "I Want You to Want Me" as a single after some of the US DJs started picking up on the album and playing it. And number 7 it on the Hot 100. So it was a top 10 song. Later on, "Surrender" would be the second single from it, and it also charted, let me see here, number 2. 2 top 10 hits for a group that wasn't even really majorly on the mainstream radar as far as sales go. And also, I think they do a great cover of "Ain't That a Shame" on here. It's true Cheap Trick style. Cheap Trick is really gifted at covers. Their cover of "Don't Be Cruel" that they did in the 80s was a really good cover too. So, check this out. Outstanding sounding record, exciting from the crowd noise. I got one later that I'll talk about, actually the absence of crowd noise, but this one sounds exciting. So 1978, it did sell 6 million copies. So it is one of the bigger selling of all time.
Now, what
live
label is it
records.
on? What label is it on?
It's Epic.
Because I think
Yeah.
they decided to do like a Live at Budokan series, and that was never originally was intended for Japan only, and then it kind of, and it's also that the audio is actually from Osaka, not Live at Budokan. The video,
Yeah, it's all marketing. It's all marketing.
the video they used was Budokan, but the audio was actually Osaka, because the night they were doing Budokan, there was technical issues, so they actually they're lying to you. But yeah, there's some interesting stories on that album. But yeah, they had some major malfunctions in recording that one that night, so it's actually Live at Osaka. but the series was live at Budokan, so they kind of kept it the same. The first one I'm gonna do is the first time I listened to this album, I put the first song on, and just like John Landau and Bruce Springsteen, they were listening to Live at the Roxy, and they said to themselves, if we ever do a live album, that's the song we're going to start with. And that's what they did. So we have Bruce Springsteen live 1975 to 1985. So they first song on the album is Thunder Road. So when I bought this, it was sealed, and open it up, put that first song on, and goosebumps. You hear him sing Thunder Road, you get goosebumps. And it's my first experience of foxing. So this was sealed and had foxing on the jacket. And then I was looking at one this morning at a record store, and it had foxing on it also, which thought it was pretty funny. When this came out, this was I think there was one for $1.5 million. I think they printed $1.5 million. An expensive $25. This cost $25 when it came out. There was a frenzy. There was lines. I was watching videos of people waiting in line to pick up their Springsteen live box set. So it was a lot of live recordings from the Roxy in '78, but different things. And he wanted it to be different, focus on different periods of his musical career. But again, I mean, there's definitely 40 songs. It's 5 LP. This was right before Tunnel of Love. I think this was right around when Born in the USA came out. And it sold like the most pre-orders dollar-wise since Stevie Wonder's Songs in the Key of Life. Well, foxing is on like a white jacket or a white, there's little spots. It's actually kind of, I don't want to say it's mold, but foxing, it kind of is. It happens a lot with Japanese records, and it's usually on the whitest parts of a record. Let's see what else. What were the hits on this? I'm trying to remember. They did Trapped was which was originally by Jimmy Cliff. This sold over 10 million copies globally. It was 6-time platinum in the US. And sold over 6 million copies in the United States. For a box set, it was number 1 on the Billboard Top 200 as a box set, which is not normal for like a multi 5 LP set. Usually it's a kind of a limited like that diehards fans in, but it never reaches, it doesn't appear to reach number 1 on the 200 chart ever for a box set, but this one did. And then Trapped as a single reached the top 40.
There was a radio play on his cover of War. That was played on the radio too. It's a good cover.
And this almost seems like when we have them for sale, a lot of times they kind of sit there. But this is an amazing live album. All I'm saying is give Bruce a chance. Especially his live stuff, the energy and stuff he puts into his live shows is amazing.
Exactly where I was going with it, right? People that, are diehard Springsteen fans. I worked one time when I lived out in LA. I worked with a guy that was born a Springsteen fan, and he and his wife would travel anytime he toured. They would travel the nation, and they would at least go see 5 to 7 shows. Their life was centered around his tours. And that's one thing I've always known. It's an event, man. It's like people that go and that love him, go and see him. He's an amazing live act. So if you really want a live Springsteen experience, it's a no-brainer not to have that box set. I mean, you should have it. It's a staple. It sounds great.
And the good thing is he's still touring. He's still very energetic on the stage. I was a casual Springsteen fan.
Same.
Coming from the Boston area, we were Aerosmith. Springsteen, there was 2 or 3 songs on the radio. Down here in near Jersey and all that stuff, you get a lot of Bruce and a little bit of Aerosmith. So it's kind of a swap. But until I saw him live, I didn't have the appreciation for him that I have now. He really just kind of blew me out of the water. Blew me away when I went to the show. And it was just under 4 hours? The night before he did over 4 hours, and this was just under 4 hours. And he's running around and putting every ounce of effort into it. And this live set is amazing. So please take a listen. Even if you have to buy it on CD, buy it on CD. Just these are okay too. Just go out and get it. Because I know the boxes are always beat. So
Yeah, he's got a sense of drama to him too in the storytelling, the introductions of some of the songs. That record really sucks you in, where you when you start listening to it, you end up listening to the whole thing because it's kind of cohesive that way. And you might not pull it out that often. I can't tell you the last time. Probably a couple years ago, I do remember listening to it. But when you put it on, you realize this thing is pretty
that
darn
first song,
good.
Thunder Road, it's quiet and it's amazing.
Sean, there was somebody that said, "Why don't you explain what foxing is?"
Well, I did a little bit about it's the little it's spotting on in the white parts of jackets and backs of records, and it happens a lot on Japanese. And I don't know, some people say it's because of the moisture, which could be kind of true. But that Springsteen was sealed, and I had that foxing, which I thought was pretty funny. And then I saw it today at a record store, and I was going to pick it up because we were talking about it, but it wasn't quiet, and it really needs to be quiet, especially.
Yeah, so usually in the white or the very light colored areas of a Japanese press, you'll see those little brown dots, and that's what that is. We call that foxing. I think we do that because it sounds better than mold, right?
I don't know if I can. I don't know if it's going to show up on here. It probably won't.
I see a little bit.
It's right on this edge here, and that was sealed, so I was very surprised to see that when I opened it. All right, Jake, what do you have next for us?
Next up, what I've got the Grateful Dead Europe 72. I just have always liked the cover of this thing, man. So originally, I believe this was supposed to be titled Steppin' Out. I believe that was the original album name for this. And for whatever reason, they changed it to
Tony Bennett said no.
Yeah, Europe 72. So any Dead live stuff, I'm going to be honest with you. The Grateful Dead live performances, why people love the Dead so much is because, the songs that they played, let's be honest, when you're listening to a record, they're probably doing, 5 to 8 minute cut, maybe a little bit longer depending on tunes. But when you go to a Grateful Dead concert, which I will honestly tell you, I was never fortunate enough to have the opportunity to go see Grateful Dead. But people love the live stuff. That's why people love the bootlegs, right? Because when the Grateful Dead performed, they never did a song the same way twice. And, their 7-minute songs would turn into a 30 to 45-minute jam, right? And, this album is no exception. It's a journey, man. And this is probably one of those, first live albums, probably one of the top live albums, in my opinion. I never got into the Dead when I was younger, right? I started getting into them when I was probably about 20 years old. The first Grateful Dead album I ever listened to was Working Man's Dead. The second was Europe 72, which is why I love every Christmas. I love the whole YouTube Yule log, because a lot of the times when they're doing it, they're playing off of, the European tour that year, which, this is all different recordings, obviously, during their European tour in the spring of 1972. And it's got all the classic hits, right, of that time. It's got Brown Eyed Woman. It's got Ramble on Rose. It's got Jack Straw, Sugar Magnolia. It was received really well. I think, like I said, overall, I think the album sold over 1 million globally. It did about 500,000 copies in the U.S., and it's a long record, man. I mean, it's 77 minutes of pure Dead bliss. And, people often say that Europe 72 is pretty much celebrated as one of the best live albums ever. And I agree. I kind of wish Adam was in here. I wish Grateful Dennis was in here, because I would really love to kind of hear his take on what he thinks, because he is such a huge Grateful Dead fan.
And he looks like Jerry Garcia.
He does look like Jerry Garcia.
He does.
But I think this album was extremely influential. It made it a cornerstone of live rock music, in my opinion. And again, like I said, people thought of this as one of the greatest live, if not the greatest live record of all time. And it's a rock album, but we all know the Dead. It's going to have influences of folk, blues, psychedelia, from their earlier albums before they kind of went a little more. What's the word I want to say, Scott? I'm not going to say that they, got a little more commercialized without kind of saying that they got a little more commercialized.
Well, they got forced into the studios, and I don't think they felt comfortable doing
They
studio albums.
never know. If you ever watch any of the documentary about Phil going on, like, he was apparently the hardest individual to deal with in the studio. Phil didn't put up with anybody's crap. The execs couldn't stand him. They didn't want to deal with him in the studio because he just, he kind of let his opinions know on what he felt about having them in there. But yeah, if anybody's looking for a live album and you want to really get into the Grateful Dead, I think this is one to give it a shot. Like I said, it's worth the money.
That's always an interesting question, because I'll be the first to admit here, not a big Grateful Dead fan myself. It falls into that category of, I don't really get it. I don't get the appeal.
I've been there.
I understand that. Yeah. I mean,
yeah. And then, some of the stuff I was exposed to, and you guys know I'm a sound guy. I like stuff that sounds very good, and some of their stuff didn't sound good. But as I go back and, especially in our line of work we do, where we sell music, you get the chance and you listen to stuff, and you're a little bit older, maybe a little more open-minded. I start to say, okay, some of this is pretty good. And you had that Blues for Allah album, and you were playing some of that, and I was like, my gosh, that might be the best sounding Grateful Dead record I've ever heard, because they weren't really known for that, Nope.
They were more known for their live jams. But Blues for Allah, yeah, I mean, if we're really kind of discussing like an album that sounds amazing, nailed it. They couldn't have done a better job on that record, and I think it's one of their better sounding. But I'm like you, man. I didn't get it. I didn't see really what's all the hubbub, right? But the older I got, I think a lot of us, our palates change over time. And the one thing that I really started to pay attention to, like when I was a kid, I didn't think much of Bob Weir. I didn't think, he was a good singer. Didn't really think much of him. But as I kind of listened over time, the one thing that I could say is Bob Weir is probably one of the most underrated rhythm guitarists that's ever existed. His technique is, you could say the way he plays is very unorthodox and technical, but I don't think anybody can compliment Jerry Garcia any better, and to play around how Jerry, would just go into these 15-minute solos than Bob Weir. And that was kind of what really got me into him. I started focusing on that relationship between the two of them, and how well-oiled of a machine those two guys were. And man, I mean, they were bound at the hip. They were, best friends. They were practically, brothers. Bob Weir got with him, I think, when he was 16 years old. He was a kid.
And we do need to thank Grateful Dead too on why we listen to actual concerts at concerts.
Yep.
Because until they were doing live shows, I mean, it'd be like the Beatles at Shea Stadium. How many people actually heard the Beatles while they were in Shea Stadium?
My dad saw him live in '65, and that was one of the
many.
first things I asked him as a kid. He's like, you could see him move, but you couldn't hear him play. So the only thing you could do is you see them move, and we would just move in sync with them. And the screams, but he's like,
and that seemed to be typical of a lot of shows until the Grateful Dead. They really started to pay attention to the sound and how it sounded for people.
Listening. Well, they have that wall of amps.
Yeah, right. So they really focus on it. And until then, it was really just a field and a couple speakers, and that was it. And the Grateful Dead really pushed it to the next envelope.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
made
next
sure you
level.
heard it. So
And
again,
eventually it would have happened, but I think music in the 70s got a huge jump in live concerts because of the Grateful Dead.
big time. Well, I think again, technology improved, right?
But also the thought and the care that they had for the listening
100%.
audience. And the fact that they let people record and didn't care.
They didn't
about
care.
It didn't hurt their business. And and then you got bands who will tack you and beat you up and take your tape recorder. It didn't hurt them.
They never cared, man.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes them great is because at the end of the day, they've even said themselves that they don't think they ever really thought of themselves as relevant, right? I think they were like the people's band. They played for the masses. They played for the people, and they gave a show that the people wanted. You got your money's worth when you went and saw the Grateful Dead perform live.
It was
Like,
almost we tend to maybe it's just me. I can be over analytical about music, and maybe the Dead is more of a pulp cultural experience, and maybe that's why I miss. But I'm always worried when something has such a fervent following, and I don't get it. It makes me go back and say, I need to look at that again because I'm not getting it. And I would say,
I have an artist like that coming up.
yeah, I would say that I'm not there yet on the Dead, but I've made a lot of progress as far as starting to appreciate the uniqueness of the Dead.
Well, Blues for Allah is probably one of my favorite Dead records. And I would tell you right now, if you just turn the lights off, you put your headphones on, and you put that album on, you're going for a ride.
It sounded good. It did sound very good. We are not 4 deep. Are we 4 deep or 3 deep? Or
We
That was
are
the fourth one right there.
fourth.
yeah,
We're
it's 4.
four.
Yeah, Jake's 4th. Yeah.
So, and Scott, you are now up.
All right, I'm up next, so I'll shake it up a little bit. I know I'll probably make one person happy. And my next record comes to us from 1968. And I am not making 2 records, 1 record, but what I'm going to show you is 2 records with 1 record. And that is
He's rushing it, guys. He's doing the rush thing.
it's Johnny Cash at Folsom Prison. So let me move myself here. There we go.
There we go.
Sorry.
Now, it just so happens the copy I have of this, and I love this copy. It also has at San Quentin, so it's it's both
Twofer.
records. It's a twofer, and my copy of Folsom Prison was strong VG at best, and this is like a VG plus plus. And I said, hey, get them both in one package. So the thing about this album, and I've sold it a couple times recently, so I've had an opportunity to really get in. Played it twice in the past month, and it's just charming. I don't know. That's the way I would describe it. Is like Johnny's the music. It's recorded beautifully. I don't know how they did that. Could you? Because I imagine a prison having a lot of hard services and reflections, and I would not want to have been the sound guys at the prison. So it sounds amazing. Johnny is during his little dialogue, he's funny, and I think also a little empathy for the prisoners, or at least understanding. Johnny, he had his wild side. He had his rubs with the law. So I think, rather than coming in as a big country star, graciously performing for the prisoners, I think he went out there and he was there to entertain them on a one-on-one basis. And, it sounds great. The humor, it's one of those things. It's the total package. There's great songs, there's great stories, and recording in a prison. There's only been a few records like that. I don't know how many, but I think of
BB King.
BB King, Cook County.
County. Yep.
Yeah, and So of course, he did too. He did the following year. He did San Quentin. So if I can't imagine anybody not enjoying this record. So try to find you a decently clean one, or pick up, like Jake said, CD or stream it. We don't care how you listen to music, however you find it. But in my opinion, this is one of the best live records ever, right here.
Scott, I'm
Yep.
liking the twofer. I might want to grab that one from you.
It's not for sale, Jake, but I'll
That's
help find you
personal.
one.
We can talk.
That's personal.
We'll
Well,
talk.
and just to bring in some of the numbers, it did sell 2 million copies. It also, those of you who are probably bigger, knowledgeable, more knowledgeable about Johnny Cash than me, he started on Sun Records in the 50s, and he had his little run. He was kind of down, and this record brought him back.
Yeah.
It crossed the, I'm looking here, number 13 on the Billboard Top 200 for a country record in 1968. That's massive.
Huge.
And it sold 2 million copies. That's a pretty big number for a country record in 1968. So we now look at Johnny as just this icon, and no, he had ups and downs, and he was out of favor, but in the end, right up to his death, working on with Rick Rubin on those American recordings,
Those are
really showed the talent that he had. So anyway, this is a big part of his legacy. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. You'll like it.
It's also one of my best. My favorite biopic is Walk the Line.
Yeah,
I love that
Yeah,
movie.
it's so good. They did a wonderful job on that movie.
Yeah.
I think Joaquin and Reese Witherspoon did like just an amazing job. It's one of my faves as well.
And with that album, what was it, 1968 or 69? Think about where music in the world was going. I mean, so he was kind of about to be put to pasture by the record labels, and then this record made him stick around for the next 30 years.
Blue collar man.
Yeah. So this kept him relevant until his death.
He's just charming too. So it's hard not to like him. Tall guy, black suit, kind of sarcastic sense of humor.
And made to be a big ass bad guy, and who knows if he really was. I think he's more of a
but here's the other thing too.
On drugs, maybe.
Here's a common reality that he shared with a lot of those guys, right? And that's really what it was about, man. It's just sharing that reality, right? He came from nothing.
Yeah,
he didn't have anything growing up,
and the interaction with his dad and his brother,
not good. His brother dying young.
Crazy.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that there was a common bond there.
All right, so I'm up next, and I have another one of those albums where I just don't get it. What do people see in this? I don't get it. And you guys know who I always talk about. Little Jimmy Buffett, You Had to Be There. And please spell Buffett with 2 T's, please, guys, when you listen to stuff in the stores and stuff. 2 T's. 2. So this is 1974. Jimmy Buffett, he had just broken his leg, so he's actually got a cast on in this. It was recorded in Fox Studio in Atlanta, and also a few nights in Miami, at Miami Amphitheater. This has so many great songs. This was recorded during the Cheeseburger tour, and Cheeseburger is not on it, which makes me laugh that they did not put the song. So during this was a tour, was the Cheeseburger in Paradise tour, and no Cheeseburger on this album. And that made me laugh too. It was later the tour was renamed to You Had to Be There to promote the album. It didn't chart because it's Jimmy. So he's kind of misunderstood, but this is a great live record. If you listen to this, again, the man was smart, always surrounded himself with great musicians. If you want the extra verse of Margaritaville, there's a third verse on this record that if you've never heard before, so you get a little different Margaritaville. Pirate Looks of 40, amazing good harmonica work. He was very fortunate. There was a harmonica player. His name was Greg Fingers Taylor, and he nailed it on here. I was fortunate enough to meet Fingers Taylor unfortunately, he was much older. He was kind of starting to lose it a little bit, but could still play the harmonica. So I was in Key West, saw him at the airport in Key West, which is one room. Saw him perform several nights at bars around Key West. And the sad thing I remember at the end of the week, he was in the Key West airport and he got lost. There's only one room. This poor guy, Greg Fingers Taylor. But you get to hear him in his prime. Let's see. Yeah, it didn't chart. But Buffett live albums are really well done, very true to the original. Always puts a little extra on there.
That's what I was going to go in there and say too, Sean. It's like he's one of those, the same thing that we just discussed, right? One of those where when you saw him perform, it's like it's all about the live experience.
Yeah.
Mhm.
He loved touring. He loved doing his shows. It was, he had his kids, his family, and then there was his dogs, and then it was touring. He would toured every year for 40 years.
Yeah.
Most of those years he was the number one selling ticket sales for years. It was Jimmy Buffett. Every venue would do 2 or 3 nights in a row, sell out all of them for years. So it's, again, from studio to live, it's really different, and you had to be there.
Well, it's another one like the Dead. I mean, it's kind of a culture. It has its own little culture bubble
Absolutely.
around it, and people are fanatical. I mean, when you think about it, it's the Dead and Buffett and
Kiss.
Kiss, and I think at their peak, Dave Matthews Band was developing the same thing.
Here's another band, right, that a lot of people don't talk about. I tell y'all need to watch the documentary on Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister, man, they cut their teeth. Live band battling it out. And I really never knew a lot of their history, but I got so much respect for them and watching that and how hard, they went at it to get where they got. They worked their tails off. But again, live, they were known for their performances.
And with the Buffett thing too, it was, and the Grateful Dead, it was, look at Stacy it's 2 T's, Stacy. It's the live interaction before the show, during the show.
Yeah.
I have several hundred friends now because of Jimmy Buffett. I know so many people that found Jimmy Buffett, and it truly is escapism, because I know so many people that have gone through cancer. They found Buffett, and that was their escape from dealing with cancer. I know an older couple who had 2 children, one with MS that died at very early in age, and one that died a little bit older at an older age. But this was their outlet. Same thing with the Grateful Dead. It was an outlet for them to kind of escape the realities of the world.
Absolutely.
Well,
some people went there just to get drunk, and that's whatever. But there, a lot of people there was the interaction with their friends and family.
You ever see the Bill Walton, documentary on ESPN?
He was big,
and he was going about like all the surgeries that he had to go through with his feet, knees, what have you. And the thing he kept talking about was listening to the Grateful Dead, and and basically just pushing through. So you nailed it, man. I mean, it's exactly.
And there's some great stories like Buffett with Derek Sanderson, and everyone hung out with him. They all partied with him. I mean, at the end,
Bono will never fly with him again. We know that, right?
Yeah, Bono. Yeah, there's a great story. I'll tell very quick. There's a song called "Jamaica Mistake." So Jimmy owned if you ever gone to Hollywood Universal Studios, it was a Grumman goose. I want to say Bernie Grumman. It was a Grumman goose, and they decided they want to go get some jerk chicken. So they flew into Jamaica, and when you have a seaplane and you're going through some of these countries down in South America and Caribbean, it's a drug plane. So the Jamaican military started firing at Jimmy's plane with Bono and his family. And they were just going there to get jerk chicken. The plane landed. Bono and his family went on a plane and left. Just gone. And of course, the Jamaican authorities were apologizing, and Jimmy has a whole song about it. Check it out. It's called Jamaica Mistake.
Well,
all right, gone to your next.
Well, Jake, if I could, because I'm afraid he'll go to bed on us without
Please.
us recognizing him. I do want to announce for next week we're back to the 500 and we're back to guest, and we have a new guest panelist next week, and it's he's actually in the chat. I think Joe
Yeah,
Williams.
I'm excited. I'm excited for Joe.
And he's going to
coming
bring
on.
some blues to us. I think he's our resident expert on blues, and as
Amen,
of right
brother.
now, we don't have a lot of blues in the 500, but we need some. So looking forward to Joe joining us next week.
I'm pretty pumped. I kind of have an idea where Joe's going to go, I think, on some records. He and I share similar love with a few bluesmen. I'm hoping that one particular record makes his list. So I'm very excited to see what, some of the essentials that he's going to pull, and hope one of those bluesmen's that. Going into, what are we, record number 3? This was not the record originally that I was going to preview, but it works because it is phenomenal. Now, the album I'm going to show you, this was obviously the most popular, the most well-known, while the other one was probably the best. I was going to preview the band's Rock of Ages, which came out in 1972, previewed a lot of their earlier stuff off of Music from the Big Pink, Brown album, obviously, Stage Fright. But tonight, what I'm going to show in its place, because I sold my copy and didn't have it, and I always like kind of having my copies around, I'm going to produce their most well-known live album, which turned into a film directed by Martin Scorsese, which is The Last Waltz. Now, what's great about this record, y'all, a lot of people don't know this. So this came out April 7th, 1978, and it's a triple record. And this was performed at Bill Graham's Ballroom, and it was a farewell concert. It's always a tongue twister for me. Farewell concert they were doing basically to kind of end their more or less like 16, 17 year run as a band. I think at this time, Robbie Robertson had pretty much kind of made his mind up on like the direction on where he was wanting to go. For those of you who aren't familiar with Robbie, like he was a visionist in a sense. He had a clear-cut vision, a direction, and where he wanted to go musically, spiritually, you name it. He always had a path forward. And they got to a point, they had reached success, and I think came to a point in time where they basically just kind of, like, I never really viewed it as we can't stand one another, we're calling it. It was kind of like the retirement of the band itself. They basically kind of ran its course. And what this album was, is this was a celebration to them, right? Whereas the Rock of Ages was the band touring, in the early 70s, the band themselves, where The Last Waltz, again, was an absolute celebration, of their accomplishments as a band, all the way back from when, they were, performing out in, Canada, right? And, eventually just trying to figure out, what the heck are we going to name ourselves? And the only thing that they could come up with was the band, because when they toured, the only thing that they would hear people talk about is, man, this band is absolutely amazing. So that's all that they would hear, is people saying, hey, man, the band that's playing, unbelievable. So they just felt, well, okay, we're the band. So you had a lot of people showcasing on this. Going back full circle, what's great about this record is that it was performed, the concert was held on Thanksgiving, November 25th, 1976, I believe. And they had 5,000 attendees. Here's what's awesome, y'all. What's great about this is that they had a Thanksgiving dinner. They had a turkey dinner for all 5,000 guests, and they had ballroom dancing. Like this was an event. You don't see that in Scorsese's film, but yeah, it obviously was a Thanksgiving event. And they had, they had Ronnie Hawkins come out, Bob Dylan, Paul Butterfield, Bobby Charles, Eric Clapton, Neil Diamond. Everybody knows Neil Young's Cocaine Nose, that they had to somewhat try to edit out. If you watch the movie, wait until Neil comes out, you can see the wad of coke just chilling in his nostril. Neil Young is blitzed. One of my favorite musicians and artists of all time, Dr. John. You had the Staple Singers. You had Van the Man Morrison there. And, of course, Muddy Waters. So a huge celebration. This sold, I think, about 500,000 copies in the U.S. initially when it came out. I don't know now kind of what those numbers are today. I would imagine, obviously, it sold a significant higher amount between 70 between April of 78 to present time. This was not the first band record I listened to. The first band record I listened to, because I'm a huge Levon Helm, a diehard Levon Helm fan. Levon Helm, in my opinion, is probably one of the best drumming, singing musicians to ever walk the earth. Again, blue collar guy that, Southern, so much soul in his voice and how he sang. But I was a big Scorsese fan. So after listening to music from the Big Pink, which was the first band record I listened to, my best friend was very big into live. He had a huge collection of live VHS tapes. And The Last Waltz was one of them. And just the way that it was filmed, I will say a little history on it. Levon Helm hated it. And the reason why he didn't like it was because he felt that the attention was focused more on Robbie Robertson than the band as a whole. They really cut Richard Manuel out quite a bit, because at this time Richard was pretty heavy into the bottle. I mean, you could tell, like, even during the performance, he had, had a bit of the drink. So it was almost like they kind of kept him away because of just his appearance. I mean, you could look at him. He's just kind of bearded and shaggy with his plaid, outfit that he was wearing. Still could sing, still could play, but kind of a shell of himself. And I think this, kind of goes back to, if you read Levon Helm's memoir, which is called This Will's on Fire, he kind of goes into depth about it. And there was a lot of, back and forth. They did get back together after they separated in the early 80s without Robbie Robertson, because, Robbie by this time was doing, scores for films. Obviously, he and Martin Scorsese really kind of continued their friendship. He did scores for a lot of Martin Scorsese's movies. Color of Money is just one to obviously name, which has a little Warren Zevon, Werewolves of London, in the
it does.
pool hall scene. And I think there was a lot of resentment on that, that, Levon always wanted more focus on the group as a whole, because when you think about them as the band with what, Levon, Robbie, Garth, Richard, Manuel, and company, they all could have probably fronted their own bands, because they were all musically that sound. But this was a great thing to see, movie-wise, a great album to listen to really see them at their peak, at the height of them as a unit. Sad to see them split up, but again, a wonderful celebration to be able to watch on film. And I tell you what, man, I would have loved to have had a turkey dinner, and then what not a way to sit and watch these guys, play, and have all these other musicians come and celebrate. An awesome record to have. This one that I have is an original 1978. It's the cleanest copy I've ever purchased. I've never played it because it is pristine. But if you have seen the movie, get the record, listen to it. You won't be disappointed. That's
do they
my
film the turkey nap you have to take after eating turkey?
So it was done, I think, in two separate, like, because they had the turkey dinner, obviously, and then they had the live performance. So, when they filmed, obviously the performance itself started at 9 p.m. It started like, the turkey dinner started at 5, live performance started at 9, and they played,
So it was
into the
basically
night.
it was like a celebration
Big
of
time.
the end of their.
That's exactly what it was. They were celebrating, like their 17 years together as a band and just kind of going out with a bang. But what a way to do it, man.
Yeah.
Have 5,000 people,
Tryptophan
provide food,
naps.
right?
Yeah, there's a song called
food
Tryptophan
coma.
that wasn't included in the record.
Yeah. Well,
So very cool.
it's interesting, Jake. I know you had to sub out, but when you said you were going to sub out to The Last Waltz, I was like, well, that's an iconic live album. I mean, it shows up on anybody's list of top 100.
It's the
live
most known.
albums.
So
That's
if anyone
really
talks
dope.
about the band, they're going to know about The Last Waltz. And a lot of that obviously is because of Martin Scorsese,
Yeah, the film.
right?
Yeah.
The film. And I think that's what a lot associate with. But it is their most known. And I still think, like, listening to this, it's great because it is a celebration with other artists as well as the band. But Rock of Ages is purely the band. And it did sell more copies, I think, than the Last Waltz did. They're both great. But I still would say if you don't have Rock of Ages, and I sold my copy, those are two great live albums to have. But I think you'll personally listen to Rock of Ages. I think you might like it a little bit better, just because it features them as a unit as opposed to themselves and other guest appearances.
Interesting.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check it out. I don't think I've watched the documentary.
I haven't either.
Well,
but
just
We're gonna
wait
have to
until
now.
you see Richard. When you see Richard Manuel, right, when he's in there doing
We'll
his
see why he
talking,
wasn't featured more.
God, he is mashed.
Yeah. Every time I
But-
hear his name, I think of the Counting Crow song that starts with the lyric, Richard Manuel is dead. It's in the lyric of one of their songs. I
But
forget which
the
one.
great thing too that has always just I've always been in awe is watching Rick Danko play a fretless bass and just how he just manipulates that thing. Doesn't look at it. He just goes. Playing a fretless instrument, it's a skill. I don't know how it's done, but these guys, they were all amazing. All had immaculate skill. They played multiple instruments, which was great to see. They were way ahead of their time, and one of my favorite bands just because musically sound, and they did it all. All the music you hear, all the noise you hear, it's all them. So I'm thankful that Bob Dylan found them, had them tour with them, even though Levon could not stand the booing when they went to England and toured, because Levon was on a portion of that tour. He could not take the booing. That he was like, I'm out, and he went to go work on a damn oil rig, and then they had Mickey Jones come in sub for him, which is when you see Bob Dylan perform. Levon Helm is not drumming. That's Mickey Jones.
Huh. All right.
All right, Scott, I think you're up next.
Okay, switch me here, Sean. Okay, so I'm gonna go be bold here.
Scorsese, tomato.
I mean, we're just lucky that any of us get anywhere close to pronouncing some of these things. I mean, we should be thankful for that, right? I'm from West Virginia. Spelling, pronunciation, it's kind of pass fail.
I go both ways.
Yeah.
I say Scorsese. I say Scorsese. I say Scorsese.
Okasic.
Okasic.
It's Okasic.
Yeah.
I'm 100%
It's actually Okasic because I heard Okasic say it that way.
Yeah, that's fake news, Sean. That's AI. That's AI.
Right now, give me that fist right there. Wow.
All right.
Okasic. It sounds better.
So I'm going to go out on a limb, and it's when you start out, it's easy, right? Like we have a little thread, and we were trying to pick the 4 albums, and pretty soon everybody just shot back because it's like, hey, it's a blank slate, and all the ones you love, it's all the ones you love are available to you. And I will say, I don't know that I picked my 4 favorite, but I did pick um, some of my favorites to go first. But this, I'm going to pronounce, this is my favorite live album of all time. And we'll do more live albums, but I will not love any of them any more than I love this record. And this record is Billy Joel, Songs in the Attic.
Ooh.
Wow.
And loved it the first time I heard it. Matter of fact, I didn't hear the whole album. I believe my wife had it on CD when we were dating. And that's the first time I said, "Oh, let me listen to this." And it was just blown. I'd heard "She's Got a Way" was the single. I mean, "Say Goodbye to Hollywood" was the single off of it. And I'd heard that on the radio. And for some unknown reason, my local radio station played Captain Jack off of this album as I don't think it was a single, but they played it. But what makes this record just amazing is it came out in 1981. So if you're looking at when in the Billy Joel canon this came out, it was right after Glass Houses. So it had 3 big albums: Stranger, 57th Street, 52nd Street, and Glass Houses. So he was a star. And I think they were just, as they do, they were looking for, oh, it's time for a live album now. In this case, it was a great choice because the earlier Billy Joel records, they all had problems. A lot of it was in the way it was recorded. Some of it was they just weren't getting the sound right. Even Billy Joel, I have both the Billy Joel box sets. He talks about that those early albums just did not capture the hard hitting aspects of the players of in the band. And that's where these songs, if you can go pick the studio album. I want to call out a couple songs: Miami 2017, um, Los Angelinos might be my favorite song on there. They're just so much more punch and power in these live versions on Songs in the Attic compared to the studio version. So I love listening to this record. It did sell, I think it was 2 million copies. I don't want to tell you wrong, so let me look at my note here. 1.5 million globally. But I think I have sold 1.5 million because I try to sell it every single show. It's in that same category of back in the high life. Like if you get your hands on it, I'm going to try to sell it because I think everybody should have it. And I do want to call it. You'll probably notice this has a top Obi on it, and I happen to think that this is the best press of this record, the Japanese version. And if you haven't tried out Japanese vinyl, this is a good one to start on. First of all, it's not super expensive. It'll be in the $22 range or something like that, maybe even a little cheaper. And it's powerful. That's all I can say is the you listen to the studio version of some of these songs, and then you put this on, and it just has punch. And I think, for example, like you hear that Liberty DeVito is a drummer to be reckoned with when you listen to Songs in the Attic. So anyway, that's my pick, my all-time favorite live album, Billy Joel, Songs in the Attic.
Awesome. Yeah, because they, as a band, I mean, his biggest album is when he stopped using session musicians. So
Yeah.
that's when he really hit his stride, was when he started doing that. And of course, the natural progression would be with the live album. They've been playing with each other even longer, so you get a great sounding album from that. And and I've got to see him live, and amazing with his band. They just know each other so well that they so cohesive. It's all one. That just sounds great.
And
So,
I don't know, Sean, do you know you keep up with these things a little bit more? Is Songs in the Attic one of the ones they're doing the reissues of, or are they just releasing the studio ones?
I haven't seen it, but I'm sure they'll all get they'll get a reissue, I would think.
Yeah, because this one is not in the box sets that I bought, which I'm fine with that because I like the Japanese one anyway.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm hoping that we get a Greatest Hits Volume 3. I'm really hoping we get that soon too. And we finally got River of Dreams. So yeah.
River of Dreams sounds great. The reissue sounds
that
wonderful.
press is really good.
And you talked about it, Scott, about Billy Joel's. Yeah, he had like a lot of production issues early on in a lot of the early albums, with Cold Spring Harbor, which, that was sped up way too fast and sounded like crap to the point where he basically just, threw the record down the street. Like he struggled a lot with the quality over the first, few records, and then even produced, I think, was it Street Life Serenade that he produced, or was it?
I think I could look, but I think you're right.
Turnstiles that he produced. I think it was Turnstiles that he produced, because that was the first album, obviously, with his band Liberty DeVito and company. I think he produced that one. I can't remember, but I mean, it got to a point where
I just checked. He produced Turnstiles, and some of these songs are in or from Turnstiles. And, Turnstiles is not a bad record. The songs are better on songs in the Attic,
live,
just because they have more punch to them. But the recording of Turnstiles, it's a good sounding record itself.
And if you guys don't know Miami 2017, give it a listen, because I know someone asked me, "What's your favorite Billy Joel song?" And I went, Miami 2017. They're like, "What?" Give it a listen, guys. It's not on the greatest hits, but it's a great.
And Los Angelinas too. That's one. And Summer Highland Falls is great on that Songs in the Attic.
Yeah. All right. So my next album is I can tie this with Jimmy Buffett, and I can tie it in with Linda Ronstadt, and Michael McDonald also makes an appearance on this album. Briefly as a background, but just briefly. And also Mick Taylor, right? Mick Taylor plays slide guitar on one of the songs. This is the album Waiting for Columbus by Little Feat. It was recorded over 7 nights, 4 nights in London, which is why you got Mick Taylor, and then 3 nights in the US. This had former members of the Mothers of Invention. Lowell George was part of Zappa's crew. Wasn't Paul Barrere too? Ray Estrada was also part of that.
Estrada.
This it did peak at number 45 in the top 100. It had one single, which was a Dixie Chicken with a live version, which I guess it's got to be cut down, because usually every time Little Feat sang Dixie Chicken, it was probably a 45-minute song. And also they play Willin' a lot from this album. It wasn't released as a single, but it got airplay a lot with Willin'. This is one that I always recommend, and people this is another one of those ones that people really don't know about, or they don't know enough about it, and it usually sits in my store, and it is a great live album. It's even gotten 2 MoFi releases, I believe. And I'm going to get one, I believe, at some point. So you had Bill Payne on piano, Lowell George, and was it Paul Barrere? How do you pronounce it? Paul Barrere also was on it. Sam Clayton, Richard Hayward, and Roy Estrada. And this was recorded 78. And unfortunately, Lowell George died the year after. And they actually blame the joke is they stopped for pizza off the highway in New Jersey, and I guess later that night in the hotel he passed away of a heart attack. And they asked him how he died, and they would joke that it was the roadside pizza in Jersey that killed him. But once they lost them, the band kind of it disappeared, but they did reunite with some albums. And I've been fortunate enough, I did see them live, and Dixie Chicken was a 45-minute song. I actually saw him in Key West on a beach. And and Bill Payne, the piano player, is one of the founders. Him and Lil George, the ones that found the band. He is still with the band. He sometimes would play with Jimmy Buffett in the Coral Reefer band. So I saw him play as in Little Feat. I saw him play with Jimmy Buffett. I met him in a bar in Key West. One of my friends is actually now friends with Bill Payne, which I think is pretty cool. But it's one of those just ones you just give it a try. It is a great, right from the beginning to the end. It's it's got a little bit of the New Orleans sound to it. It has the New Orleans funk. It has rock, blues, country. It's all over the place, but it's very well done. The musicians are great. One of my favorite songs is Willin', which is on here. Also, Linda Ronstadt covered Willin' on one of her albums. I just wanted to say that. Michael McDonald played on what the hell was the song? He played on one of the songs in the background vocals. So you got Michael McDonald on here. He's been on like every record on the planet. What else?
Basically, what you're telling me is that this live record of Little Feat technically could be categorized as yacht rock.
No.
McDonald's on it.
What's also cool about this is
Hold your water, man. Hold your water.
Fish did a live concert, and what they sang was this album in their live concert. They sang it in its entirety in one of their shows. So it definitely influenced a lot of people. And give it a chance. It's not that expensive. Or get the MoFi. I'm going to be getting the MoFi at some point.
I'm a very low-level Little Feat fan, but I love that record. That record sounds so good.
Yeah, it's very well done.
Yeah, you put it on, you're like, why don't I play this more? That's why it gets the audiophile treatments, and that's why people look for the OGs. This would be a contender for best sounding live record ever recorded. It's amazing.
Yeah. I would say from New England, I would call it Wicked Pissa. Just so you know. Wicked Pissa.
I think that's
also
went into
not on this album, but the song Willin', which is very, very big for them. When they did the original recording of it, Lil George hurt his hand on a model airplane, so they had to call in Ry Cooder to do the slide guitar on Willin'. So if you listen to Willin', it's actually Ry Cooder playing the slide guitar, which is a cool little fact too. And Linda Ronstadt covered it, which was probably made them even more popular, because when she covered songs, it really brought highlight to the artists that she was singing. And it worked for the Eagles. She sang their song, and the Eagles more than Linda now. All right, so Jake, you are up next.
Yep. I'm going to need Scott's help on this one. I thought I had it, but I sold it. This record, because I like what Scott said going into, it might be one of the best sounding records of all time. But the record that Scott is holding, music critics alike have said that this is, if not the greatest live album that has ever been produced, would be The Who Live at Leeds, which came out May 23rd, 1970. For those of you who might not be aware, this was actually the very first live album that The Who had ever done. And they were known as being, at the time, one of the greatest live acts, but there wasn't anything that really represented the true, just raw and heavy sound of their live shows. I mean, you think about it, it's probably one of the greatest. Huh? Adam is in the house. So they had just come off of Tommy.
Who?
And basically what they were doing is they were looking for a way to follow up that album. And what not a better way to do it than do it live. Well, at the time, they had done a lot of live shows. But the problem is the live material that they had, Pete Townsend didn't like it. He hated it. The sound quality wasn't good, so they had to figure out a way to get a good live show. So what they did is they booked 2 live gigs. One was at Leeds College, and the other one was Hull City Hall. And I think, and they did this specifically to record a live album. And I think 6 songs were taken from the lead show. And of course, the iconic cover, which they did all this and pressed it to kind of make it look like a bootleg, right? But the iconic cover. What's crazy is that it didn't have any significant singles that were released. But if you think about the time that this album came out, right? They were transitioning, basically being kind of, a mod band, from, the mid 60s onward. And Tommy was kind of, at this point, Tommy really was a pinnacle album for Roger Daltrey, because you think about it, you've got Keith Moon, you have John Entwistle, you've got Pete Townsend. You've got three of the greatest rock musicians of all time in their craft. And at the time, Roger Daltrey was essentially trying to figure out what the heck his identity was in the band. Some of y'all may not know this, but originally Roger Daltrey was the lead guitarist for The Who early on. He played guitar. It wasn't Pete Townsend, but he was lead early on in the band, right? So if you really listen to a lot of the earlier albums, you go and you listen to My Generation or Magic Bus or some of these earlier songs, some of the mod hits, right? And then you go into Pete Townsend's just, opus of Tommy, which was probably one of the first rock operas that came out. This is what really, I think, brought Roger Daltrey out from, trying to figure out what his identity was to really establishing his identity as a frontman. And then, of course, we all know after this, the album of albums, which is Who's Next, which pretty much cemented their status as just rock gods. But, and I don't think, I wanted to look at the track list because I couldn't remember. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I, in fact, didn't listen to Live at Leeds. The first album I ever listened to was the Who's Best, the Who's Greatest Hits, right? Got the, Union Jack, got the flag on the cover. That was the very first Who record I ever bought. I didn't listen to Live at Leeds until I lived with my best friend in Florida. I was probably 22 when I actually first heard it. And he even then was like, this is probably the best live record that's ever been made. It's, and he's a guitar player, right? And he's like, I don't think anything beats it. And I listened to it. And I agree. I think, obviously, it's one of the best live records ever. Sound quality is really good on it. And it's great because you kind of hear him interacting, Pete Townsend interacting and talking with the audience, kind of going a little bit about Tommy and explaining the whole premise of it and playing a bunch of songs of it. I don't think they had anything off of Who's Next at the time because mainly they were playing the hits of the day. They did stuff from Tommy. They did stuff off Magic Bus. Of course, they played My Generation. But I think this, again, is an album to have because this is an opportunity, first live record, to really hear a true raw sound, because at the time they were hailed as probably one of the greatest live acts ever. And this record is what kicked it off.
Yeah. And Jake, also, as I'm hearing artist interviews and they're talking, this album comes up as being influential to a lot of stars that would come
100%.
later. I mean, it's always, no matter what, any list you look of top 10 live albums ever, any list,
Leeds is on it.
Leeds is in the top 10.
Always
there. And Stacy had a question, so I think it'd be good to address this because we didn't really lead in and say, let me find it. We didn't say exactly what we're doing here. So let's put, Sean already did it and then I removed it. All right. And it's gone again. It's back. Okay, it's going to stay. Man, Sean's going to quit pushing the button at the same time.
After 1990.
No, none of these tonight did, but I will say there were some that was certainly in the discussion. I mean, you can imagine what they are. As Sean said, once we started looking at it, we realized, oh my gosh, there's a lot more great live albums than I thought. So tonight you're going to get 12. I think this is an easy 48 or 60 list probably that we'll end up with. So we'll rotate back to live albums. We'll keep this as a separate list from the 500. But there will be. But I also will say, you know,
Stacy, it was mentioned. So Scott and I almost chose Unplugged, but we were kind of like, that's a given. Like,
Yeah.
Well, I think this is what I think is there should be a challenge of like the top 5 Unplugged albums.
That sounds like a good list for Jake to do.
Because there's Tony Bennett. There's a
Dude,
whole
that is,
Eric
I
Clapton?
love Unplugged.
Clapton.
I know Clapton is there. Alice in Chains is there.
Don't forget
Unplugged.
Tony Bennett. Tony Bennett.
Neil Young's Unplugged was pretty
Tony Bennett
solid.
was the best.
Well, yeah, I mean, just
good Unplugged.
I mean, just have some Dave Matthews. You know, there's multiple albums there too. I mean, I think all these will be there. You know,
Absolutely.
down the road. But I will say a little bit of it is. I mean, and I don't mean to sound callous here, but the music we're talking about, like, what great albums have been released in the last 15 years? Have there been any?
He did, Edward, to answer your question.
Yeah,
Yes,
great
Ralph
soundtrack,
did
too.
play Ralph.
Yeah.
He did the soundtrack. So yeah, he did play the guitar parts.
Yeah.
It's almost like live albums are becoming like a lost art form now. I wish there was more, none that really capture the public's imagination like some of these did. Like Cheap Trick, right? 6 million copies of a live album sold. That's a lot of records sold.
And
For
with the James Taylor, there's a lot of live James Taylor that's really good.
Stacy, the other thing we talked about too, right, is Dave Matthews and Tim Reynolds, unbelievable live album, live album.
It is good,
and like that could have easily made the list. If we keep continuing live records, right, I think we're going to see a lot of these that we're talking about right now that weren't mentioned. They're definitely going to be mentioned. They'll be
maybe a guest host will come in and talk about some of these too.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Maybe someone who can enlighten us on some of the newer things that we don't know.
But the thing about those record store day, and I'm just going to maybe be the contrarian here. My personal opinion, a lot of them are trash.
Billy Joel's live at Carnegie Hall is unbelievable. That is probably one of the clearest recordings I have ever heard. And I don't know why I sold them both. I should have kept them. I should have at least kept one, but that was
right before we went to do The Stranger. So that's when the band really gelled and went right into Strangers and Stranger.
This was around the time like before he really took off. He was selling out Carnegie Hall and people were like, okay, I mean, he's doing this. Yeah, maybe there's something to this guy. And then The Stranger comes out.
I think do you guys not think there's some advantage to an acoustic guitar recorded live just sounds amazing for some reason. And I think a lot of these that we're looking at, not The Who, but a lot of these have that in common. There's a lot of acoustic guitar on some of these records, and that just sounds beautiful in concert.
I'll tell you what, Tim Reynolds playing with Dave Matthews and some of the acoustic stuff that he is just producing with his hands and the sounds coming out of it, mind-blowing.
And definitely, guys, in the chat, when we're going to finish up this list, but we'll talk about all this stuff after. Any recommendations on live, what you think is the best?
Because we'll keep doing it. We'll definitely
after we go through. We have 2 more to go through. We'll get more into the chat and any questions, or you can tell us our list is wrong or whatever. That's fine.
Okay, is it me, Sean?
Yes,
it is you.
Okay, so it's my last one, and it's the one I'm most unfamiliar with because I came to it a little bit later. It is I gotta hold it up right because the way it's made. Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense. So I really wasn't on this record until probably 3 or 4, probably COVID. That's when I kind of discovered it, and I mean I knew it existed, right? But there's a difference between knowing something exists and sitting down and listening to it in a way that you're paying attention and consuming it. This is I guess we were okay including this as a live album. Some people might say, "Well, isn't it a soundtrack?" Well, if it's a soundtrack, it's also a live album. It does go with the film "Stop Making Sense" that was produced by Jonathan Demme back in the days. This was on uh, the Speaking in Tongues was the album that was out. So that was the tour that they were on, and it's kind of cool if you've seen the film, the way he comes out and it's very sparse, and he talks about wanting to play you something, and but it's actually a keyboard thing, and the way more members come out, and the Psycho Killer on this is I think the tempo might be a little bit faster than the actual studio recording, but it has some power to it. So um um but I will say this: I like this record, but right before the show, I was coming from Northern Virginia. Me and my wife were, and because this was the record that I have the least familiarity, I wanted to listen to it again on the way home. And I want to say the wife was not a fan of so, but it was her first take at it. She does love like some Talking Heads, and some of these songs on here I will tell you that the crowd noise. They didn't pipe in a lot of crowd noise on this. Like they didn't set the mics up to crowd, so you will hear very little crowd noise. This sounds almost like a studio record at times, except for just the way an acoustic guitar does sound a little different live. You can pick up on it, but some of these versions on Stop Making Sense I like better than the studio album versions of it. And of course you guys know some of the big hits on here, not only Psychic Killer, Take Me to the River, um Once in a Lifetime. That's a great song. So it's a different, you're not going to get that roaring, there's not a lot of talking in it, you're not going to get the roaring crowd, and but you are going to hear a really good sounding live record. And this is one of the more popular ones that people ask for. Yeah, the Take Me to the River is really fantastic. I was trying to think um maybe it's Genius of Love. Was it the other one that was just like blowing me away? How much better that was than the studio. So, Talking Heads, Stop Making Sense. Definitely check it out.
Yeah, it's a great. You know what? There's a video of Psycho Killer, and it's tied in with, I think, a Jeffrey Dahmer movie, and you
Mm.
listen to Psycho Killer and you see the character who plays I think it's Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's so creepy. The music is so perfect for it and so creepy. It's awesome. Um, so my next record, this one is important in like so many ways. I was more impressed with the story around it at first with this record. Um, and I mean, I listened to it a couple times, and but the stories behind on this record, the time that where the country was at, this was shortly after Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated, and they were a band. They were like a proto punk band. They were a band in Detroit that would fill like a dance hall of thousands of people every night. This is before they had a label. They released a couple of 45s that they basically had some local guy make, but they would sell out, and they just had this huge following, and they just were amazing. And the executives at Elektra, who just they had some money. They just they had success with the Doors, and they were looking to sign acts. They had the money, and they're looking to sign acts. And Danny Fields, who worked for Elektra, was eh, looking for acts, and he discovered them and really enjoyed listening to them, and he wanted to sign them. And with the energy, he saw this band with so much energy, very raw talent, and they basically figured out, the way they do their shows, they sell arenas. The energy is so powerful. The music is just, and the crowd is so. They decide, let's do a live album. So you have this artist who that we're doing a live album as their first album. That doesn't happen often. They were definitely part of the counter culture. They were very into political activism. They were yippies. And yippies were, it's a youth international party movement back in the early, late 60s, early 70s with, Abby Hoffman, John Sinclair, all those people that were basically protesting against Vietnam and the establishment. And they were mixed right into it because their manager was John Sinclair. He was a poet. He was a pothead. And the funny thing is, John Sinclair eventually got 3 strikes of marijuana and got put in jail. But the reason why, the story is great, is he got arrested for possession. And then he made a poem about the cop that arrested him. So the cop made it his lifetime goal to get 3 strikes on him, put him in jail for 10 years. So if you piss off a cop by writing a poem, don't do it, because I don't know how that zoomed. So the record, guys, obviously is MC5. MC5, Motor City 5. So they were supposed to perform John Sinclair and his friends decided that as a protest, they were going to do a concert in the park in Detroit during the national convention. And they said all these bands from the West Coast were coming, like the Grateful Dead and Neil Young and all these people. And when this concert happened, you could feel the tension in the air. All these artists said, there's no way we're going to Detroit, because they knew it was going to end up in violence. Neil Young showed up, but Neil Young never played. The rumor is that they played for 8 hours straight. The real reality is they played for about 40 minutes, and they themselves hightailed it out of there. But they got a high profile, they got a contract, and along with the contract, so they were in a room with Danny Fields, and so was the manager from a group called the Psychedelic Stooges out of Detroit. So at that same moment, Elektra signed the Stooges and MC5. MC5 got 10 grand, and the Stooges got 5. And they recorded this album at the Grand Ballroom, because again, they were always filling them up, and they filmed it they did over 2 nights. And a lot of you guys know, and we don't like to swear on the show, but this is the Kick Out the Motherfucking Jams. This is the album. And that in itself caused a lot of controversy. This is considered the first real punk band. This is the record that inspired all those that came out afterwards. So it's very important politically, musically. This had a lot of bearing on what happened next. Danny Fields eventually went to be the manager for the Ramones. And some people say without this record, the punk movement may not have happened, or maybe it would have been a different form, but they were instrumental in it. And if you listen to this album, it's just high energy the whole way through. The only thing I didn't like is the last song, Starship. It gets real airy, and it's kind of, I don't know, it's not my favorite, but the rest of the album, it's just like one giant jam. And the beginning of their show, every show was a build-up, much like James Brown with Live at the Apollo. They would come out and do kind of like this preacher type thing and really hype up the band. And they break in with Ramblin' Rose, and it's Wayne Kramer that's singing. He's not the lead singer. And then the second song is when the lead singer comes in and just blows it out of the water. And they did this, they would play anywhere, anytime, just to get the experience. And the following and the energy, it's one of those, you had to be there. I would have loved to have been in one of those shows, and when they did a live show, I would have loved to spend it with that energy. 1,000 people every time they would fill in one of those ballrooms. And the controversy of the record is, of course, controversy. What does controversy do with records?
Sells them
popular. I mean, this commercially did 500,000. But the band fighting with the Elektra record labels is crazy. Some of the stories I heard, and so the initial one is obviously the 45 got released with the edited version, which said "Kick out the Jams brothers and sisters." So the band agreed to that because they realized there's no way they can do the single with the profanity, because at that time in the world that wasn't allowed. So they did that, and in their alleged agreement with the record company was let the single sit for a while, let it play, let get people used to it, and then we'll the camera's moving. Then we'll release the record with the profanity. But as soon as it started getting play, the record label just immediately put out the record, and then there was controversy. And one of my favorite things is, so they were fighting with the record. They were not happy. And so they were going back and forth. Even the design of the record, the art director put his own picture on the cover of the album and really pissed them off. So with the fight with Elektra, and record stores wouldn't sell it, there was actually people getting arrested for selling this record. MC5 decided, hey, we're going to put an ad in our local newspaper because there's a department store in Detroit that Hudson's refused to sell their album. So they got a full page ad, and it's right here. And it says, kick out the jams, motherfucker, and kick in the door. If the store won't sell you the album on Elektra, fuck Hudson's. And the funny thing is, they added the Elektra logo, sent the bill to Elektra, and guess who no longer had a record label? MC5. So they were rebels all the way. They did get re-signed at another label, but they really knew how to burn some bridges. And putting out a full ad like that is just says how they were. They were badass. They were badass. And listen to it. It's not typically something I listen to, but you just put it on and just put some headphones on and just listen. It kicks. It's MC5. Kick out the jam. Boom.
Yeah. Another one that probably flies under the radar a lot because you wouldn't.
It's not your genre technically.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
great mention, Sean.
Inspired so many other bands in the future that we all know, and Sex Pistols and the Ramones, all that stuff. So it's very important musically and culturally. And this one's on a cool splatter.
Excellent mention. Great background to it as well.
I love the background. That's what kind of gets, it tells you what's going on, why and where and why it happened. And just how they charged Elektra the money for that ad. That's awesome. And just like punk band, that's just how punk band would be. Yeah, so there you go. That's mine. So the next thing up is we have Gonzo, because we did all the records. Yeah. So Gonzo is, he thinks he's the king of Yacht Rock. And let's see if he is the captain now. He thinks he's the captain.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all.
Although he's been on a music video that he was on a yacht too. So
I was on a boat for 16 hours and made sure for the majority of that 16 hours to avoid the camera because I did not want to be seen in an O-Town music video. But I needed the money to pay a phone bill of like $400. So I did the gig. I was sick as a dog. I was just coming off like a horrible bout of bronchitis. I got bronchitis. And yeah, I was on a boat for 6 years.
He was on a yacht.
So top 5 Yacht Rock albums. I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Why? Because I have a feeling I'm going to get some eggs thrown in my face. This was tough, y'all. This was actually pretty tough. Because a lot of the albums that I listened to, a lot of them on average had 2 songs. And I really was trying to find those records that really, going to have, 2+, try to find 3, maybe 5 songs. And this was hard because this is number 5 And we start off with the Yacht Rock classic, probably Boz's best album, Boz Scaggs, Silk Degrees, released January 1976. Certified 2 times platinum, sold in the US. Estimated sales globally 5 million. We all know the tunes on this. We all know, obviously, Lowdown, Lido Shuffle. But this was his breakthrough record. And, it had obviously those elements of rock, jazz, even a little bit of R&B. That's what made Boz just so enjoyable to listen to. He just had a wonderful voice. I hated this record when I was a teenager. Just couldn't get into it. My dad always dug it, and I used to make fun of him. But as we discussed early on, right, palates change. And over time, I have come to thoroughly love this album because I appreciate the musicality of it. So that starts it off with my number 5. Yes, Scott.
Jake, it's amazing, but you haven't messed up yet.
I love Harbor Lights.
Spot on, my
I love
friend.
Harbor Lights on this album.
Here's what's going to happen. You're going to get ticked off. You're not going to like it. So I'm ready for the rant when it comes. So let's talk about this, okay? We're talking about Yacht Rock. Really what we're talking about is we're talking about a musical sound that came out of California. Easy listening, easy rock, mid-late 70s to early mid-80s. We all know what band, what musicians really had a huge influence on the California sound. Okay, we're getting there. Number 4, we're going into Mr. Rafferty. We're going into City to City, which is probably, this was hard because at first I had this at top 3, but this had, again, 2 big hits. Had Baker Street and had, obviously, Right Down the Line, both of which Baker Street was number 2 in the Billboard Top 100. Right Down the Line was number 12. He had 2 top 20 songs. So these are the 2 songs most known, obviously, off this record. But you really need to give it a listen because, again, it.
Okay.
Let me invite him back
That
in.
was
Oh, there we go.
There it is.
We're back. Did y'all lose me or did I lose you?
For a second. We lost you for a second.
You're back.
Yeah. Okay. We're back. So, again, this did 500,000 copies sold in the U.S. It probably globally did well over 1 million sales. But what y'all don't know about Mr. Rafferty is that, and I've quizzed people in the past, he was in a band prior to this, which was Steelers Will, which he did Stuck in the Middle with You, right, which was a hit. But he was also in a band prior to that, which was the Humble Bums with Billy Connolly, the comedian, which was more folky. So he had been around, and I think this is by far his best solo effort. It just captures the spirit of late 70s rock, and I still find this album to be quite influential, which is going to lead us into an album right now that I'm about to hear a mouthful of trash from Scott. This is number 3, and it has to be here, not because the album is great, because it is, but because of the individuals who, in all actuality, are a huge part of the Yacht Rock sound. And that is Toto 4.
This is Yacht
April
Rock?
1982.
Guilty by
Yes.
association.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you why. So Scott has pretty much, he's gone to bat for Toto for a long time, and it has insisted that Toto is not Yacht Rock. But the reality is they are. and they were a part of the late 70s California scene. They played on everybody's records. So if they're the musicians that are contributing to the California sound, why would they not be considered yacht rock when they've got a lot of tunes that are? Now, obviously, my favorite album or my favorite song on this record is Africa, which, Scott, I know you will agree with me. Africa is a yacht rock song.
Africa, I give you, is a yacht rock song, but I'm not buying that Toto is a yacht rock group. But
they are
continue.
They are yacht rock session musicians.
But again, they contributed to the sound. Okay, if they're doing that with their instruments, I don't think someone comes in and is like, "All right, guys, all right, we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a yacht rock sound." Yeah, that's what they played. They were highly skilled technical musicians, and it was an easy listening sound. Everybody loved. Dude, I love yacht rock, so I celebrate this album as a yacht rock classic.
I think even Donald Fagen would tell you to F off if you said this album was yacht rock.
It is. It is yacht rock. So this leads us to number 2, which I'm going to tell y'all right now. Y'all are going to expect this to be number 1, but it is number 2 in my list. And that is the Yacht Rock Essential, Christopher Cross, self-titled 1979.
All right, now you're back on track.
Released in February 79. I know every single one of you were like, most likely Christopher Cross is probably going to be the number 1 pick. Guess what? It's not.
And the amount of Grammys that this got for
5
for a debut album,
album.
It was
Correct.
not repeated until Billie Eilish.
Until Billie Eilish did it just recently.
Yeah.
So Christopher Cross swept the Grammys with all 5. Okay. His first record, debut record.
5 Grammys. Can't argue this one.
So he basically used up all his rocket sauce. We're talking about a guy that had a successful weed business. He was selling weed to basically make money to get in and get studio time, right? But what people don't realize is that Christopher Cross was an amazing guitar player. Some people don't realize that he went in, I think Deep Purple had a concert, and he stood in and played and filled in to play guitar.
It's going to be the Rentals.
You've got Ride Like the Wind, obviously reached number 2 on the Billboard Hot 100. You've got my favorite personal song, which is Sailing. Sold over 5 million in the US. I think it did well over 6 million. Again, his first album swept at the Grammys. And if you watch the Yacht Rock documentary, I think Barbra Streisand was pretty ticked off because I think she was really wanting to win that year. And here you got a pudgy kid from San Antonio coming in with Michael McDonald and company and puts together one heck of a yacht rock album. Number 1, before I even show it, I want to see in the chat, what is the number 1 yacht rock album of all time?
I know who it's going to piss someone off. I know that.
You got to remember, it was like a 15-second delay, Jake.
Yeah, so there is the delay, but
so
and the person who's going to be will not like this being on this list. I know that.
So the number 1 yacht rock album of all time is Steely Dan's Asia.
Gwyneth Paltrow's Cruising. I love that.
September 1977. Sold over 5 million copies in the US. Let's see. We all know the hits. We know that Donald Fagen most likely is going to massacre me because I don't think he ever considered the sound yacht rock. But it had Peg, it had Deacon Blues, both of which peaked within the top 30. The album itself peaked at number 3 on the Billboard Top 200. people consider this, I consider this Steely Dan's masterpiece. Their earlier albums, I do not consider yacht rock. This album, I consider yacht rock, given all the musicians that they brought in to create the sound. The making of this record was pretty 100% lies. I love the fact that people are hitting me on it. But Asia did win a Grammy for Best Engineered Non-Classical Record and received a lot of other nominations for other categories over the years on it. They've received acclaim for this, obviously, and music critics consider it one of the best albums of all time because of its innovative sound, which I think we can all agree in the production quality. They put a lot of elbow grease into this record, and they used a hell of a lot of artists to come in here and create the sound that they produced on that. It was a masterpiece, man. And people, felt that this album was like the cornerstone of the 70s records. I don't think you get any better than this. I know this. I know that John Travolta's favorite album of all time, Steely Dan Asia.
That makes me want the record more.
If the man is saying Steely Dan all-time best album, you got to listen to the man and agree. But Asia is yacht rock. Everything beyond this point in 77 onward, even Donald Fagen's solo album, The Night Fly, yacht rock. I am happy to sit on this throne. So that is my top 5. I knew I would get hit hard on Toto.
I'm okay with Asia. I mean,
but it is a yacht rock album.
I think it might be dumb luck, but I think you got that one right, my friend.
I mean, think about it, man. You have Black Cow, you've got Asia. The drum and sax solo on Asia is unbelievable. You've got Deacon Blues. So you've got, a string of hits that a lot of the other ones didn't have. Now, I think going into this, let's see, did we list our honorable mentions?
Not yet.
We did. Believe it or not, Dreamweaver, it was in my original top 5. But I had to kind of man up and had to put, I think, Boss Skaggs in its place because, Gary Wright was 75 when that record came out. It does kind of have a bit of a yacht rock feel to it. I do still consider the album yacht rock, but you can't forget to mention the Doobie Brothers, Minute by Minute, and then, of course, Kenny Loggins. Am I a huge Kenny Loggins fan? No. But this album is pretty significant because Kenny Loggins, Michael McDonald, Christopher Cross, every member of Toto, right? They all contributed to that sound, to that California easy listening, easy rock sound of the 70s. Asia's yacht rock, Chris.
Well, I think if people that love jazz, they don't go that way.
Yeah, it's yacht rock. Fagen you can give him my number, give Donald my address.
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna pop up on Donald Fagen's social media algorithm.
Well, listen, look,
you're wrong, Jake.
Listen, play a yacht rock playlist.
Everybody puts them on there.
Steely Dan is on it.
Big and Hey 19, they're on those lists. So.
Fleetwood Mac is even played on yacht rock. And I don't think Fleetwood Mac is technically yacht rock, but they're on it.
Who do you think the best yacht rock artist is?
That's hard, man. So that was the thing that I talked to Scott about. I'm like, it's harder than I thought it would be because there's so many bands.
It's the Doobie Brothers because Michael McDonald is on that and he's on all the other yacht rock records. So that would be the Doobie Brothers.
Yeah, but the Doobie Brothers are like
he only came in
with his albums with Toto
earlier albums
because Toto played on yacht rock albums makes Toto yacht rock.
If you're asking me like best yacht rock artist, I'd have to say Christopher Cross is there just because of what the album did and what he achieved with that record. Michael McDonald is there. Kenny Loggins is there. Toto is there because they played on everything.
They played over 5,000 songs.
If you watch the documentary, that's it. They are on everything.
They're on a lot of Japanese presses too. of Japanese music.
Yeah. So I gotta say, Jake, I think overall you did well. I do take exception with Toto, but I will also admit maybe I'm a little biased. I like Toto a lot, and I tend to focus more on the rock end of Toto, like Afraid of Love, I'll Supply
I do
the Love,
too.
Hold the Line. I mean, it's just a
They
little
can play it.
more, yeah. And you know, I don't really buy into the logic. Well, they played on all the Yacht Rock, that makes him Yacht Rock. Well, Steve Lukather played the riff on Beat It. It didn't make him an R&B guy, you know. So but my probably my biggest concern, I'm over the Toto. I've accepted Africa is mainline
Yacht Rock.
Yacht Rock. I'll give you. But what's really disappointing, and I lobbied and I could see I was not successful, was Atlanta Rhythm Section Champagne Jam. I think that should have at least got an honorable mention.
Well, I did 3. Yeah, I mean, there were probably 4 other records I could have mentioned, but I was like, you know what? I'm going to pick 3. And then I even went in and said, you know, maybe I should base this off album sales. And then I was, you know, let me go back and listen to a little bit and just really see, like, are these 3 albums that, like, I could see putting it, you know, on an honorable mention or top 5. The Doobie Brothers was borderline. Gary Wright was borderline. I still think Kenny just gets the honorable mention just because he was prevalent, you know, during that time. But I was never a huge Kenny Loggins fan, although I will say he and Michael McDonald got together and wrote some amazing hits. I love What a Fool Believes. I think it's a great song. They did, you know, collaborate really well. I agree, Edward. Rosanna does have a Yacht Rock sound, and it's played on Yacht Rock stations nonstop.
My problem with the list is I just wanted to give you a hard time. I don't have that big of a problem with the list.
So
I just wanted to give you a hard time.
Air Supply, Ron, was even I had looked at it. In fact, I think when I called Scott, I kind of gave him a preliminary list. I'm like, this is what I'm working right now. I think I mentioned Air Supply briefly, but
we talked about Al Stewart, Air Supply.
We talked about Al Stewart.
The one we didn't talk about was Hall & Oates, and I think, yeah, they could fit in Yacht Rock, but I think of them as like Blue Eyed Soul more than I do.
Thank you. I do too. So you could say Hall & Oates.
I do have an issue.
Put Hall & Oates kind of there, like with what you're saying of Toto. I always viewed Hall & Oates because they came from a soul background. They were huge fans of the Temptations, right? So that's just kind of how I always, you know, looked at them. A lot of soul. Some of the stuff had maybe a little bit of a Yacht Rock feel to it, but I don't consider them Yacht Rock. But yeah, are they played on Yacht Rock stations? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but the thing with
Touche.
If you said the greatest hits album, I'd go Yacht Rock immediately because you have a bunch of songs. But each individual album of Hall & Oates, is there a lot of Yacht Rock on any of them?
I think it's the sound, Sean. I just think it's the sound. It is the easy rock sound of the 70s. And unfortunately, all of that kind of blends in with the Yacht Rock, you know, tag.
Yeah.
All it is just, it's a sound, a particular sound. Yeah. And that's all it is. Like, I love it.
Sort of is considered Yacht Rock, but I can't think of any Buffett song that's really Yacht Rock.
Yeah, I think that all the controversy on the list just boils down to the definition of Yacht Rock, really. Like, nobody's disagreeing. These are very good records. Yeah, yeah.
It is a musical sound. That's all it is. Like, you could just say, you know what? Hey, man, easy rock, late 70s California, that sound. What bands you got? I mean, those are the bands. There's a huge list of it. But unfortunately, like, a lot of it is... why it was so hard for me is the realization I came to was, man, there are more Yacht Rock songs, right, that can really be on a playlist, but aren't necessarily like worthy to get an album nod.
Yeah. And that's what a lot of people do. They do like top 20 Yacht Rock songs, right? And I think that's much easier when you
have easier than an album as
well. Ambrosia was one of the first. So Ambrosia originally was in the top 5, but all they had was 180.
And we talked
180
about
was
180.
really, in my
Yeah.
opinion, their Yacht Rock album. Because I think they only did 4 or 5 records, and like that was it. But 180 was it. And they had 2 songs off that record. And it probably, I was this close to putting it on the list, but absolutely they are there. Chris just won't let it go. But Steely Dan is jazz rock, not easy 70s music.
I think there are
It
some
is
new bands
jazz
that could be
rock
Yacht Rock
music, Chris. Jazz rock music is easy listening music. Yacht rock.
Yeah. Again, all our conversations are about definition. I mean, I think the one thing we can agree is like what I do love that. Well, I think to some degree we champion these because whether it's Steely Dan or Toto or Christopher Cross's guitar playing, this is
Unbelievable.
not simple music. It's some of the most
Technical.
technically challenging, most masterful studio produced music out there. So it shouldn't be giggled at or laughed at. This is
No,
good
man.
music. It is really good music.
Thank you. I agree. It is technically sound. These musicians, man, they're studio musicians. They got chops. So like I salute, their musical ability.
Yeah, Larry
Because-
can I mean, I know we all get caught up in Eddie Van Halen and Eric Clapton and all that, but how about Larry Carlton? Dude could play a little bit of guitar, So anyway, well, I have to say, good job, Gonzo. I had a lot of fun with you. I was just glad to be off the hot seat. I was hoping you would boot this up so badly that nobody would ever talk about the Van Halen list again.
Nothing. I don't think anything will top Van Halen's top 5. I still
Yeah,
think
that's
my
bold.
Yacht Rock 5 beats Van Halen. It does not beat Van Halen.
All right, so Gonzo did a pretty good job. Great, Jake did a good job. I mean,
But I wanted
it's all about the
controversy.
discussion. So even if he
I
was
welcome
wrong, it brings great discussion.
Sean, I guess one thing we can like people can do the questions if they want, but we had a couple questions that weren't really in the moment that and I might have missed some. Somebody, Stacy suggested that we do the Madonna top 5 albums.
Sean
and
should
Stacy,
cover that.
by God, we can do it, sister. We can do it.
Sean covers it. Sean goes top 5 Madonna.
Yeah. Yeah, we might have to listen to some
can't name
2010 forward records, but I think we're all Madonna fans. So, and
I wrote a love
Sean,
letter to her when I was 6.
there you go. Sean, somebody wants to know what the cutout is in the background.
That is Zane Lamprey. That is, he did a show back then called Three Sheets, where it was a travel show where the man went and drank, did the local drinking customs, and then pretty much got lit, but it was informative. And the next day he would do the local hangover cure. He is a comedian. He has 2 specials on Amazon. My brother-in-law is his tour manager. So that's another reason. So check him out. Go to zanelamprey.com. Look for the episodes of Three Sheets. This came out was like 20 years ago. And just watch some of those episodes. If you like those eating shows where they travel around the world, this is just kind of with drinking. And it's informative and it's fun. So give him a look, and if you're interested, I can tell you where he's touring next, and who knows, maybe I can get you some tickets. Maybe. But yeah, check him out. That's who he is in the background. So I have a rule at my house. I don't drink alone. So that's why he's there, because then I can drink because he's sitting there with me.
I think that's cheating, Sean, but whatever.
Well, and I have an allergy to to alcohol lately anyway. So, but yeah. So you knew Three Sheets, Stacy? Yeah. So yeah, that's who that guy is. And he's
Okay.
also a very big with pets. They foster a lot of pets. And if you follow him on social media and his wife, there's a cat called Pinocchio. You gotta check it out. Pretty cute cat. A little deformity, but he looks so cute. So that's who's the guy who's been creeping behind me is good old Zane.
Okay, well, Gerald's asking a good question. What's next week? We are back to the 500 next week, and as we announced, we'll have Joe Williamson joining us. So I think we're going to see our first hardcore blues records make an entry. But I mean, we haven't talked to Joe yet. He's free to pick whatever he wants, as long as he can get the three of us to agree on it. We hardly agree on anything, so that's usually takes weeks to line up approval for.
Yeah,
somebody
three of
else.
us fight every day.
Yeah. So, but no, and then we are booking out guests for the rest of the year. So I'll be reaching out to some folks you've already seen, like Rush Records and Stacy. They're coming back. Don't know about Johnny. We'd love to have Johnny back, but Johnny's the time difference and some of the stuff they got going on with traveling back home and traveling otherwise. We will get Johnny back as soon as we can. I did talk to him today. So we'll be filling out the rest of the schedule. There's a couple other people that we're talking to. We don't have anything firmed up, but you'll, to be fair to them, I won't announce anything till we've got a date and we agree. So excited about Joe for next week and, bringing back some of our dear, great friends that have already been on here with us. So look forward to that toward the end of the year.
Awesome.
And with Jake doing that 5, he definitely had us run over. We couldn't control him.
Well, we did the recap too. That's what we threw in the schedule of the older albums.
Yeah, no recap. We'd have been money.
Oh yeah, it was great. It was fun. I don't know how it was for you guys, but I did.
We would have been way under time had you not delivered a eulogy about Kick Out the Jams.
I'm sorry. There's just so much fun information.
Honest. Listen, the
so much fun information.
The story was worth it, Sean.
Oh, I know.
The story was worth it. Look, I had to go to the bathroom. I've had to go to the bathroom in the last 45 minutes. I was intrigued.
Because some people complain nowadays that music gets too political, and when wasn't it? When was it not? So
hey, love you too, Ron.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, man.
I agree with that. I mean, I think that's part of. Like I always just laugh when they want to cancel either side, for some statement they had.
Like Neil Young, come on.
yeah, or even Kid Rock. Like I some of the stuff he says, I'm like, really, dude? But you know what? I like me some Kid Rock.
Again, for those of you that are still here, just Google Neil Young, The Last Waltz, Coke Nose. To see what I'm talking about. I just want to go ahead and reiterate that. And then once again, because we can't have a show without the mention, please, if you haven't listened to the Rentals, Return of the Rentals, it is a...
There you go, Sean. Good job. We got ways of dealing with you, Jake. I thought we were going to make it through. One of the audience members mentioned the Rentals.
You got to get mentioned.
Like, don't say it. Don't say it.
It's got to be mentioned at least once. All right. Yeah, I am on a mission to ensure that album reaches maybe 250,000. I think when that album came out, I think it sold under 100,000 copies.
Okay.
Which album was that?
Huh?
What album was that?
I already said it. We don't have to go back and
hold on, Jake. I'm looking.
I think it's under 100.
8. It sold 8 records.
I think it was 96,000.
Yeah, mine says 9, Sean. I think they might have just sold one there. So
Lies.
9 copies are in the wild.
I would say maybe 750.
Lies. I'm telling you right now, there are 10 people in here that have secretly listened to that album on YouTube, and they were like, "This album rocks."
I don't think that happened, but okay.
Yeah, I do need to listen to it. I'm hopeful that there's a song that has more than one note in it.
It does. They've got multiple moogs.
Three different people playing a keyboard.
Right? It just makes you want to jam.
3 different people. I think that's an overkill.
and just do this, right?
All right. So I want to thank Jake because I usually take the burden of the top 5. I enjoyed him doing the top 5. So good job, Jake.
I'm going to
So-
say this, like, hats off, a lot of respect to Scott for taking the time. Dude, I had a
You can always
very
keep the hat
busy,
on.
stressful week, right? So I had to like get a lot of this kind of at last minute. Scott really puts a lot of time and effort and preparation. So big hats off and kudos to Scott for really, taking the top 5 seriously and really putting a lot. It is a lot of work to really take the time and listen to the music. So,
Jake,
but I think, go ahead.
here it is, buddy. What's the top 5 next week? What are we doing?
I think we put the top 5. We put the top 5 on Sean.
Oh,
I think Sean goes top
Oh,
5.
God, the stress.
Oh,
Welcome to my world. Welcome.
And what would it be? I mean, I don't know that many Madonna albums, and I would probably line up in chronological order when they came out, probably for me. But who knows?
maybe let us think about it. So, audience, we will announce on Instagram what the top 5 is going to be before the show.
And
But
if you have any
I mean, look,
suggestions, you can
here's a couple things.
send
Here's
us
a couple
some messages.
suggestions. Top 5 soundtracks. Top 5 compilations. Although I kind of want to do the compilations the way we did the live albums.
Yeah, compilations would be a hard one. Oh
Tough.
my gosh.
Soundtracks I think would be fun.
There's so many
okay, but
choices
we
to go
we
with.
need to narrow down type of soundtrack, maybe.
We could discuss it. We could figure it out.
Yeah,
Something-
Yeah, we'll
figure it
figure it
out,
out.
guys,
I mean,
and,
maybe that has some potential.
It'll be a
there.
surprise, y'all. Come back next week so you can see what his top 5 is going to be.
There you go. That's what you're gonna have to do, guys, is come back and check us out next week when we top 5 Buffett.
I don't know if he had 5, Chris.
If we let, yeah, I mean that show
would
would
be
be
too
about
easy for
8
me.
hours long.
Yeah, that would be too easy for me. There's no challenge on that one, and it's not a lot of interest. So if there was like an artist with a lot of interest, yeah. But Jimmy, you guys don't like him, that's fine. I accept that. But to tell you that his
Jimmy is
top
just
5,
like Jimmy's an experience, man. He is like I would
Yeah.
appreciate seeing him live. Right? Seeing him live I think is really the best experience to really to get out of him, right? Is being there in person. I think, his records, I don't think that they were terrible, but again, like you said, it's like, was he one who produced a ton of hits? No, again, it was the experience. Oh, Gerald, he is.
Yeah.
But I think he's just like some of these bands, right? That it's better to see them live. Like no album compares to the live experience.
So if you, as Sean said, if you have an opinion, I mean, we're not set. I mean, go on Discord, give us you can send us a DM or you can post it on the forum. Let us know what you think we should do. And
we'll suggestions would be great. And let's see what Sean, put the suggestions out there and let's see what Sean tackles. Let's see what he takes
top
on.
5 female lead singer. Oh, Adam, that's not a bad one.
That's
right
not
there.
bad.
Yeah.
Probably going to say Jagged Little Pill might be in the, throw that out there. Some good ones. Tiger Lily, another good one.
Sheryl Crow,
Another good one.
Nina Simone,
Fiona Apple, another good one.
yeah, there's some good ones.
There's some good ones.
O'Riordan.
Lana Del Rey, some damn good ones.
Who's that person? Swift Taylor. Yeah, she might be in contention.
Chaperone.
Chaperone, yeah. All right. Well,
on top 5 Sinatra albums.
Oh my goodness.
top 5 Sinatra. Top 5.
He's got 87 of them.
We're gonna remember that, Sean.
No, it's Tony Bennett that I
we'll
have
have
like
you back
covered,
on.
but
Stevie Nicks, that's a good one. All right, Sean, wrap us up, buddy.
all right, guys. So I want to thank you guys. That was a great, fun show. We could go on for hours. Trust me, we could just go on until 2 a.m.
I want to fight.
That's a long stream. So I want to thank you guys for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next Thursday with our guest host, Joe Williams, son, Buckenberger, didn't you?
Harvey
probably in
Man,
bed right
friend
now.
Jensen Hen with the CIA.
All right, guys. So thank you guys very much, and we'll see you on our streams on Whatnot over the weekend. Thank you guys, and have a great night.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for coming.
Good night.